Yo, it's Rob here from Shonen Showdown. Today I'm here with
your boy Anime Sundays.
I want to go home. I want to go home.
And today we are doing an updated version of our top 10 strongest One Piece characters. Again, guys, here are the rules. Alive only. We are going up to chapter 1102, and the Gorosei will be counting as one whole group to count as one spot, just until we learn more about them. Let's start off. Anime Sundays, you're number 10. Who you got?
Of course, we know not everybody can make the list, but at number 10, I'm gonna have Kizaru. I know a lot of people weren't too impressed about his fight against Luffy, but I was actually a little impressed with the way he was moving. He was very mission-oriented, trying to kill Vegapunk, but also trying to make sure the Straw Hats aren't getting in his way. And then he's also fighting a Gear 5 Luffy. Now, I know you're gonna say White Star Gun, one shot, but at the end of the day, I still feel like Luffy still had to bring out Gear 5 in order to even really see Kizaru. And I feel like once that level has to be accomplished, then you're kind of still holding it down in your battle. It wasn't like observation, conquest, coding, all that stuff just immediately took Kizaru out.
I have a question for you. Is it safe to say that Kizaru got to Egghead with fresh legs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I said that. Mm-hmm.
Would you say Luffy had fresh legs at the time he was approached by Kizaru?
I would say, if you want to say a percentage, I would say it was only like a 5% non-fresh. So I would say if he was at like 95, Kizaru was at 100.
Wow, okay.
Because I know
after he fought,
I know he fought Lucci in Awakening,
right.
But again, I feel like after he recovers his haki, and I believe he did eat, like after they took down Lucci, captured him, and they had a whole little mini banquet, he's pretty much at 100 again. Now, yeah, it's still kind of in that same time span, but I feel like once Luffy gets his haki back, and he's, especially when he's had a meal, he's ready to go again. We've seen him with Kaido. As soon as he got a little bit of haki back, a little bit of sustenance, he's like, okay then.
You know, for me, White Star Gun is all I really needed to see. Now, somebody can talk to me and make a case about Kizaru being top 15. I would listen to you. Top 10, I have questions. Because at number 10, I am going with Akainu, Fleet Admiral of the Marines. Yes, we are starting with Akainu below where a lot of people have him. And the reason why is I have a lot of more faith in what's going on with the world government, and we will get to that a little bit later. I do think Akainu is elite. I know how Oda has talked about how offensively impressive his Devil Fruit is, but for me, it took you 10 days to fight Kuzan. I don't want to hear anybody talking about top tier, top 5, top 3. No, I need to see more from Akainu. If it's taking you 10 days to beat Kuzan, to me, I don't think you're top 3. I'm sorry, that's where I have Akainu right now. I do need to see more. I need to see what the haki is looking like at an elite level. To me, again, I know there's a lot of Marine fans out there that think Akainu got the better end of the stick during the Marineford War against Whitebeard. I beg to differ. Whitebeard was old, Whitebeard was sick, and he still almost killed Akainu. And listen, Akainu wasn't even the one that took out Whitebeard. So if you even want to say that Akainu is of that level, he should have at least been the one to kill Whitebeard, and he couldn't even get that done. So I'm not saying Akainu is weak. I do believe he's a top 10 character. I do think that he can definitely move up, but where I have him right now stands right now because, again, it took you 10 days to beat Kuzan, and there's a lot of characters I think that can beat Kuzan that it wouldn't take them 10 days to do so.
I definitely disagree with you. I think that's a credit to Kuzan, especially what we've been seeing from him in the manga. And I know a lot of cats will say, well, no, his battle with Garp was really on one side. I don't think so. I think the fact that Kuzan was the main fronting force with Garp out of everybody on that island was pretty impressive. But I give it
was Blackbeard there?
Yeah, but he wasn't in the battle. He was in the front. And I don't have I don't have Blackbeard on this list.
Oh, okay.
I don't have Blackbeard on this list. I'm just letting y'all know now. I don't have Rayleigh on this list.
Okay.
And so, I mean, there's only one other character I would have had before Kizaru on this list. I would have had Sabo over Kizaru. But the Sabo versus Kizaru case for me is a little on the fence because I still think Luffy is stronger than Sabo.
I agree with what you're saying with Sabo, but I think both things can stand. Who do you have at number 9?
I mean, I have Kuzan at number 9. I think Kuzan, his battle with Garp, you know, he's showing some haki feats. Garp isn't one-shotting him like we all thought was going to just immediately happen. Of course, Garp is doing massive damage on this island. There's a lot of other pirates involved, and we know he only went down for the Okido, right? Trying to save Kobe.
Exactly.
And absolutely, I agree. But I do think Kuzan is in the game there, really a major part of that battle, and I absolutely think they would have got swept if Kuzan wasn't there. Even when he first approached the Blackbeard Pirates, their whole squad was about to be run up just because he thought they were coming for him. I always think the Admirals are still kind of like a neck and neck type situation, but I think Kuzan, 2 years ago, he fought Akainu 10 days, but we know now anything can happen in those 2 years if Oda wants it. I think a lot of the times, narratively, we're like, well, we don't expect this character to be doing a lot of blowing up or getting a lot stronger, but it's almost like Oda's kind of showing you that, no, everybody's got a little bit stronger.
I respect what everybody said about Kuzan because I do think Kuzan is powerful. He's just not top 10. I think there's definitely characters in the One Piece where I definitely feel like I can name 10 that can beat Kuzan. At number 9, I went with Garp. I went with an elite, legendary. How was that tough?
No,
The hero of the
I just
Marines.
think it's low.
The only reason why Garp is a little bit lower on my top 10 is that he is old. And when you hear Rayleigh talk about how old age can affect your power level, I have to look at Garp and say, well, some of that can also be afflicting you as well. I do think, and I stand firm on saying this, that if Sengoku did not stop Garp during the Marineford War as he was approaching Akainu would not be here today. I stand on that. I think his haki, it really speaks for itself. As you said, yes, Garp was fighting Kuzan, but again, all of the Blackbeard pirates pretty much had to jump Garp. He is a legend from the old days. He fought against Roger. He fought against Rocks. He fought against Whitebeard. He fought against everybody damn near. He's elite.
Well, absolutely. I just think it's a little low. Me personally.
Okay.
Me personally. Number 8, right, Brad?
Yeah.
But I have Akainu. I just feel like when it comes to the 3 OG Admirals, still to this day, I still feel like they're still pretty relative. I mean, unless Akainu's been punching battleships himself with no haki, like Kobe or whatever, I feel like he should still narratively be stronger than those 2 other OG Admirals. I feel like if we talk about all these other characters who we know have a big narrative role, and that's why we give them such a great power level, I feel like Akainu still can fit in that bracket.
Now, this is where some people are going to get upset. For me, I've seen a lot of disrespect on this character's name. I don't know why. I think he's in his prime. I think he's only going to improve and get better. But I'm going with the first commander of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo. I'm going with Sabo at number 8. And listen to me, guys. I know a lot of people out there have been sleeping on Sabo. Some of y'all woke up, but a lot of y'all are still asleep. Sabo's really accomplishing Ace's projections. If you see all the hype that Ace has had over the years, Sabo is really accomplishing where they thought Ace was going to be. Not only are people calling him the Flame Emperor, not only did he go into the Holy Land, free Kuma, while there were 2 admirals present. And your guys out there, the Admiral fans, Akainu said there's no excuse. You have Fujitora, you have Aramaki there, and he still was able to get the job done. That's an impressive feat. But adding on top of all of that, Sabo was in the room with the Gorosei. He was in the room with Im. He got hit, and he still made it out. A lot of characters, to me, based on how powerful these characters are narratively looking right now, the fact that Sabo was able to even be in those rooms, get outside, have conversations, really up his game. I think Sabo is one of the most dangerous characters. If you're a Marine right now, you hear Sabo's name, you're scared. I think he's that lethal. The fact that he was able to fight an admiral on the first day getting the devil fruit is ridiculous. Let's be serious. I know he was an elite character. I know that he grew up training with Dragon and all these other people during the Revolutionary Army early days. We get all of that, but he fought Fujitora on the first day he got a devil fruit. Now, some people may question, well, you have him over Garp. Again, I just think Garp is a little bit older, so I think he's dropped just a little bit, but maybe I'm wrong on that, but I do think Sabo should be at number 8, absolutely.
I agree definitely with most of what you said. I feel like narratively he's accomplishing a lot of things.
Right.
But I don't always, in some sense I do, but I always put that exactly with strength. And you know how I already feel about Fuji and Green Bull. You know, go back to the old videos. But all I'm just saying, I look at like a Kuzan and a Kizaru, and I feel like if they were revolutionaries, can they escape Im? Yes, I do think so. I feel like, can they get out of that situation? I do. Can they take a blow and be all right? I do. Not to say that's a discredit to Sabo. I just think when I really think about, can Sabo be a Kuzan? Can Sabo be a Kizaru? It's very neck and neck. Sabo is the most efficient character. We're talking about top 10 most efficient characters who can get the job done, who can get the role done, absolutely. But if you're talking about strength specifically, I just am not super convinced yet because I feel like I was impressed with Kuzan and Kizaru, the way they fought Luffy and Garp.
But Jared, but hear what you're saying, right? Mm-hmm. You're saying he's top 10 efficient, right? And there's 2 admirals present. Now again,
yeah, but you know how I feel about that 2 admiral situation.
No, but I'm saying so you have Kizaru coming in there, bodying Green Bull,
because if you look at it the same way, Kizaru was there with a Sanji, with 4 other Straw Hats, which could maybe even equal like a Zoro or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
I think based on where the Revolutionary Army, based on what they are looking to fight, I think Sabo has to be be elevated. And listen, they just dropped the Seraphims out too. Me having Sabo over Akainu does not mean that I think that he's gonna one-shot him. You know what I mean? I think it's gonna be extreme diff, but I think Sabo can catch him out on haki.
Yeah, it would just be, we have to see Akainu's haki.
Exactly. Right.
All right, number 7, I do have Garp.
Yeah.
I was struggling with my number 7 and number 6. I'll let you know my 6 in a little minute. If it wasn't for the okie doke, he probably would have took down a couple of those members of Blackbeard's Pirates.
Absolutely.
Would he wash the whole squad? That's tough. That's really a tough thing to say. What crew's on there? Even if Blackbeard did come down, I feel like eventually Garp would have had to make a decision where not everybody's making it out alive, and if he's gonna do what he always does, make sure his subordinates are good, I feel like it was inevitable. That's how that was gonna go.
At number 7, I'm going with the main protagonist of the series, Monkey D. Luffy. I'm of the camp that I believe that had Luffy had fresh legs, he didn't have to worry about any of the Seraphim or Lucci or anything prior to Kizaru popping up. I think that the fight would have gone a little differently. Even though I still think it would be a tough fight, I don't think that it would have gone down to the point where Luffy is also using up all his energy and falling out and needs time to rest. I don't think it would have gone that far.
Been like more of a Lucci.
Yeah, I think a little harder than Lucci. I think Kizaru's stronger than Rob Lucci, but I think it's still not going to be as close as it was. I'm of the camp where I've seen Luffy have to fight multiple different people before even getting to Kaido. I've seen Luffy have to fight an entire army before getting to Big Mom. Luffy is a person that really has to fight a lot of people because the Straw Hats don't have a large crew, so he has a lot to handle. And again, Kizaru came there to me with fresh legs. He wasn't fighting anybody before he got to Egghead. I think that the potential of the Nika fruit clearly is like series changing, right? I just think that Luffy needs to get a better handle of it. He needs to improve his stamina. Also, I mean, his haki has leveled up, but he needs to use that Gear 5 power in conjunction with his haki. So we need the stamina to increase for Luffy if we're gonna start seeing him in those top 3 type conversations.
I mean, at my number 6, I have Luffy. Stamina's the biggest thing. I am of the camp that Luffy in base form is a lot stronger than people are trying to give him credit to. I feel like when we saw with Kaido, that base form was carrying for a minute. You feel me? Like that Conqueror's coding battle, like Luffy's base was really helping him a lot.
He did fight Kizaru for a little bit in base, and then he went to Gear 5. A lot of people see that as, oh, the base wasn't enough for Kizaru, so now it's Gear 5, do or die. To me, I didn't get that from the fight because the White Star gun was really one hit, drop down, done. That was really what it was to me. So I don't think Gear 5 was really needed. I think that really it was Luffy having to fight a whole long time in Egghead, and then Kizaru pops up. Luffy is not fresh, you know, to me. So that's why I feel like he had to go into Gear 5 because now we're in dire straits. You know what I mean? We have to finish this quickly. At number 6, I have Saint Figurlin Garling. I know some people may be saying, why are you putting stock into one of the God's Knights? Well, my rebuttal will be, why not? I think it's about time we understand that the Marines had their run. They were cool for the time, but unless you're talking about Fleet Admiral, I don't really want to hear it because now we are talking God's Knights. Garling was at God Valley. Garling has seen the greatest of the greatest, and we can infer that Garling really is running the show of the God's Knights. If that is the case, that's even more reason to put him in your top 10. I think he has to be an elite status member for him to have so much authority over other celestial dragons, who even the Marines, even the admirals bow down to. We know he most likely is a swordsman, which is going to make this conversation even more interesting later on. The only reason why I don't even have him even higher is because 1, we don't have enough beats, and 2, he's obviously on the older side.
I agree with pretty much everything you said. I just still kind of think it's still too early. It's only so much I can give to the narrative, you know what I mean? Just because, again, he is old. Even though he may command the God's Knights, I'm not even super convinced that he may be the strongest God's Knight. He just may be the leader.
He was there at God Valley, though.
I know he was there at God Valley, but you know, everybody was there. I just feel like, how strong can you really be as a celestial dragon? I mean, that's just me. Like, what can you really go through? Garland's first appearance to me was like pretty Roy Floyd. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just came in the mix. I'm the prettiest guy here. I'm tough with the sword. Like, but like, am I saying you're in this battle with rocks? I mean, for all we know, he could have just been like, oh yeah, I'm not going over there.
But that's my point to you, is that the God's Knights or the Holy Knights aren't called upon unless it's dire straits, unless it's big, strong characters are going to be in the mix, and it's something that the Marines alone can no longer handle. It's made to look like these are the end game warriors.
Right, like almost like how CP0 came into place at first, right? We saw them kind of like as that elite secret agent code, but I'm also kind of the camp that like when it really gets down to the wire end game top level characters, we call them the Gorosei. So at number 5, right, I believe, now I'm getting into my top 5. Man, this is gonna be a little tough for some of y'all, but I have Dragon. My Dragon stocks took a little nick. I just feel like Sabo, again, is still, he's being more of a move-making character than Dragon is in terms of like in the field. And not to say that Dragon's weaker than Sabo or anything like that, but Dragon just took a little nick with me with the Guinea situation. Now, of course, he's not like his father, he's not like his son, but I just feel like there should have been a little bit more for me to see at that time in that flashback to be like, okay, this is why Dragon is top 3 or something like that.
So let me get this straight. You knocked Dragon down a few spots because he didn't go into the Holy Land for Jin?
No, I knocked Dragon down a few spots because I think that the fact that Sabo is still bringing you information, and this is kind of your biggest leading point in terms of what you do for the Revolutionary Army, is kind of like, well then what do you really know? We really don't have nothing like kind of major except him freeing some islands here and there.
I think Dragon knows what he's up against. Dragon knows who his enemy is. So a lot of people out there talk trash about Dragon because they want Dragon to be more proactive, not understanding that unlike how Luffy and Garp operate, Dragon is operating with a different lens. He's operating with a different perspective because he knows that there's bigger fish to fry. His eyes aren't even set on the Marines any longer, really. He's looking at what's going on with the world government. So if you're not seeing Dragon out on the front lines, that's because if the head goes down, then all operations are going to shut down. And I feel like he knows that more than anybody. So he's planning for a bigger strike. And the reason why I feel comfortable saying this is because Dragon and Vegapunk are like this. They know each other. They both know the history of Ohara. They were there. Dragon has a lot more knowledge than a lot of people out there give him credit for. So if you're gonna say that Dragon is not really putting in work, I ask you, do you know what Dragon was reading when he was at Ohara? We have to give Dragon the same amount of credit that we give people like Vegapunk because we know how important Vegapunk is as a character. The fact that we're seeing St. J. Garcia Saturn on the front lines, a Gorosei member is on the front lines because of Vegapunk is all we really need to know, because Dragon is also in the same conversations as Vegapunk.
I just feel like sometimes the way you respond is a reflection of strength. Not necessarily action-wise, but even just subtle things.
Based on what you're saying, right? Can I also say, well, Dragon feels like Sabo is enough. I don't need to be on the front lines. I have Sabo. Sabo is good enough for this type of scenario.
But he didn't.
There's 2 admirals there. Sabo can handle it.
But he knows Fujitora and Ringo aren't the top 5 Marines either. If you look at world government involved.
At number 5, woo! Community that hates me the most. I have Dracula Mihawk at number 5, y'all. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Mihawk is a powerful swordsman. I think his swordsmanship is the best in the world. But I do believe that there is some separation between haki and swordsmanship. And I think when you look at King from Wano, I think that's the perfect definition of somebody that is great with a sword, that was able to fight against Zoro using a sword, but he doesn't consider himself a swordsman because he does not follow the codes of swordsmanship. And I think when you're looking at some other swordsmen in the series, you could say the same based on how they're using their sword and based on what their haki is looking like, or if they're using their sword with the devil fruit. I think there's many different forms of swordsmanship in One Piece. You have Law, who uses his devil fruit in conjunction with his swordsmanship, and there's many others that do that as well, like a Fujitora. Zoro uses a 3-sword style. I just think that when it comes to Mihawk, you're going to take the L on the swordsmanship front. You're not going to beat him in a battle of swordsmanship. Now, I've seen the memes out there. There's a lot of Mihawk memes out there where people say, you know, Mihawk's going into a duel with a swordsman. He says, hey, that's not fair. Turn off your haki. Listen, nobody here is saying that Mihawk doesn't have elite haki. I think that even all the haki feats that Zoro is accomplishing, you can look at Mihawk and say, Mihawk, your haki is elite. I just think that there are other swordsmen in the series that compensate for their lack of swordsmanship with greater haki. I'ma say it again. I believe there are other swordsmen in the series that compensate for their lack of swordsmanship skill with having stronger haki. And when we look at Kaido, Kaido says haki transcends all. I look at the characters that have elite haki in the series, and I think Mihawk is top 5, but I don't have him top 1. I can't say everybody in One Piece that has a sword, Mihawk beats him. I can't say that.
I just feel like, you know, again, Mihawk fans, like, this whole over Roger nonsense, over everybody, it's like, we have to really, like, take a step back, see what's even going on narratively. right? I know a lot of people are like, well, if Zoro beats Mihawk, then Zoro has to be stronger than Luffy. It's like, well, that's what we're talking about. It's like, and of course, like Rob said, at number 4, I also have Mihawk. The only reason I have Mihawk above Dragon is because I just feel like he's younger, has won the title of the greatest swordsman, he's a marine hunter. What really goes into people's haki feats, right? In order to be even like in the conversation, you have to have Rio, you have to have Conquerors, you have to have all these things, you have to not make your blade black or whatever. Armament feats have to be serious, coding has to be serious. Even if you have all those things, even if we say Mihawk, X, Y, and Z have all those things, we have to now say, okay, well, there has to be a difference between their levels of haki, even if they have accomplished the same levels. There's a reason Kaido didn't just get cut in half. And that's the reason why I don't have Mihawk obviously above everybody else in the verse.
So at number 4, I have Shanks 1 spot above Mihawk. I don't have him way over Mihawk. I think if Shanks and Mihawk fight, I do think it will be a high diff to an extreme diff battle. I just think that Shanks would win off of a slight edge in haki. He is one of the greatest haki users that we've seen in this series, not just in today's One Piece, but throughout the history of One Piece so far. He even has been using some of his former pirate captain's moves in the great Goldie Roger, who was crowned the Pirate King. Why? Because not only was the One Piece found, but he had great haki to bring the world to heel, in Kaido's words. You know, a move like this has been used to the point where it was able to one-shot Captain Kidd's crew. One can say that Shanks has great haki. Some people like to bring up his haki feats shown in Film Red. Shanks was given the ability to cut off people's future sight observation haki. Which other character in the series has been doing that? The Wi-Fi haki, he made an admiral.
We haven't really seen that except like maybe Garp a little bit. Like the only time we've seen haki in that range is like Garp.
An admiral was running.
So at number 3, I have the Gorosei. Some of you may say that, well, nah, Saturn should still lose to Mihawk. I'm really not there. There's a lot of characters who should have automatically lost to Mihawk if we're gonna say Saturn should lose to Mihawk. We know what Saturn got going. He's getting the egghead, and it's end game already. Again, it's almost like Kaido 3.0. It's like, now we don't know their individual ranking on rankings, but if we're saying they're all relative, they're all about the same. Yeah, I do think it would be a Saturn over Mihawk.
At number 3, I have the Gorosei. Again, we are counting them as a group just for the placeholder spot, but individually. So this would mean Saturn is number 3, or Saint Ethan is number 3. That's what we mean by putting the Gorosei.
Whoever's like the top Gorosei.
Right. We don't know where they rank amongst each other just yet, but there could be a conversation where if we find out more about the Gorosei individually, then your top 10 might just be hella Gorosei members.
It might be Gorosei, or it could just be some Gorosei aren't as powerful. Some Gorosei might not be as. We know if we see Saturn a lot in the combative situations.
Right.
Maybe there's a reason for that, right?
Exactly.
Maybe he may be a little bit or significantly stronger than the other one. Who knows? So.
Right. But based on what we've seen from Saturn so far, I think that it's safe to say that there's a very, very big chance that they use the immortality surgery on Saturn. He looks the same now as he did at God Valley. He's taking attacks and is healing instantly. He's literally making Sanji, who took down Queen Sanji, who improved in Wano, stop. Can't even move. Saturn is looking dangerous just even based off the transformation. He transformed and the magic circle popped up and everybody was scared. The haki was oozing everywhere. It literally looked kind of...
Marines were getting
getting dropped. Saint Saturn looks lethal. We're now in endgame territory. The fact that they left the front lines to join the battle is a credit, as I said, to Vegapunk, but I think they know what's going on already. This is beyond the Marines' abilities right now, so they need to hop into the mix. Endgame level stuff, I think the Gorosei are elite.
At my number 2, I do have Shanks over like a Saturn, and the reason I have it is because when I really look at it like if it is a life on the line type situation, one-on-one, Saturn versus Shanks, I think Shanks will win. I think Shanks' haki is elite enough. Shanks is the closest thing we have to a Roger right now in One Piece. I've said this before. He is the closest probably to the One Piece besides Luffy and whoever else is a Yonko. He's the only other guy we know with close feats as Roger to haki, but he's not sick and dying.
This is the reason why I have Shanks. I just think that there's some other individuals out there. Once we get to see Saint Ethan, then we can revisit. I have number 2, Dragon. Dragon having the most high bounty in the series right now speaks volume. A lot of people have been disrespecting Dragon. I am not of that camp because you have to look at who the Gorosei are going after. The Gorosei are going after big important threats like Vegapunk. Vegapunk and Dragon are close
friends. They both know the history of Ohara. Everybody wants Dragon to act out on his own, but I think that's exactly why he trained Sabo. He brought somebody like Sabo in so that he can do the field work while he's planning for bigger fish to fry. We're not worried about what's going on with the Marines right now. We are looking at the elite in the world government. And I believe Dragon knows about the history of Ohara because obviously he was there with Vegapunk, so he moves a little bit differently. I think Dragon has to be of that camp. I think he has to be elite for them to even have a fighting chance against the Gorosei. If Dragon cannot be a Gorosei member, it's over with. The One Piece is done. I mean, because at that point, the Revolutionary Army is just there for fun at that point. And I don't think that's what's really going on. I think that he's obviously built up Sabo to that Flame Emperor, quote unquote, Yonko status so he can move even at higher heights. He is the son of Garp and he's the father of Luffy. That should be enough for you to put him in your top 5.
I definitely agree with you that he should still be able to defeat a Gorosei member. I have to see a little bit more about how he moves when it's time to put all things on the field.
Right.
And that's kind of why I just still have Shanks a little bit above Dragon, because I do think Shanks is the modern day Roger, except he has less to worry about in terms of the other strong haki users, the other strong combatants on the field. I mean, at number 1, I have Eam. You know,
I agree.
You know, we know what we've seen from Eam. Behind the scenes, ruling the world government for 800 plus years. If you don't have Eam in your top 5, I don't know what you're really watching. Eam saw what Roger was doing and saw what the pirates was doing, and he or she was not as concerned as to when Luffy unlocked the awakening of the Nika fruit. The main goal of Eam and the world government is to keep control. You know, there's a quote from many comic books that they're all powerful. The only thing that they fear is losing their power, losing their control.
They saw the Nika fruit and they realized that now it's go time. Now it's time to brush the dirt off the mother flame and blow kingdoms like Lucia out of
the map.
Come on. Clearly, Eam has to be an end of series level threat. One can even make a case that Eam has the immortality surgery as well, because Eam's been around for how many hundreds of years.
Luffy's still gonna fight all these pirates, fight all these admirals, and he's still probably going to have to deal with Eam. There's no way Oda would just introduce Eam and then he never meets him. I highly doubt that's where we're going with that.
We saw them slash the picture with Luffy, clearly because Joy Boy 2.0. You see what's going on with Blackbeard, which means Blackbeard's obviously going to level up a little later, but I couldn't put Blackbeard on my top 10 right now.
We know he'll be there probably around that final battle. But
S-Hawk's pulling up, Rayleigh's making you run. I got to see a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's it.
Listen, you guys let us know down in the comment section below which picks you agree with or disagree with. Obviously, this is going to be a crazy one. Make sure you go show love to Anime Sundays.
I want to hear any Mihawk fans dying to speak to me.
You know it's coming. And with that, see you guys next time.